I never believed in hell until the night that changed everything. I remember standing at the edge of a shadowy realm, a place where the familiar rules of life and death no longer applied. My heart pounded in my chest as I took my first hesitant step into a world that defied all I once knew. I was an ordinary man, burdened by the everyday struggles of life, but nothing had prepared me for what I was about to witness. It all began when I found myself in a situation that no one could have foreseen. A near-death experience during a severe accident that left me suspended between life and death. I had heard whispers of strange visions and terrifying encounters in those moments, but nothing could have prepared me for the vivid images that now unfolded before my eyes. I felt as if I had been ripped from the familiar confines of my world and cast into a realm where darkness reigned. It was there in that dismal, fiery place that I saw what no man should ever see. As I wandered through the desolate corridors of what I later came to recognize as hell, my eyes fell upon a sight that left me completely stunned. A gathering of priests. They were not the dignified, serene figures I had once known in churches or seen on television. Instead, they were twisted reflections of their former selves, tormented souls caught in eternal agony. Their faces were etched with expressions of deep sorrow and horror, and their eyes seemed to plead for forgiveness that would never come. I felt a chill run down my spine as I tried to understand how these men, who had once been symbols of hope and redemption, had ended up in such a wretched state. I approached one of the priests, compelled by an urge to know the truth behind this terrible spectacle. His voice, weak and quivering, managed to whisper words that sent shivers through me. He spoke of a betrayal so profound that even the heavens had wept. According to him, many of his brethren had strayed far from the path of righteousness, falling prey to the sins they had once condemned. In their relentless pursuit of power and influence, they had lost sight of the true meaning of their calling. The priest's eyes, filled with an unbearable mixture of regret and torment, met mine, and in that moment, I knew that I was witnessing a punishment not just for the condemned, but for those who had once claimed to be the guiding light for others. The priest recounted how he had once been a respected member of the clergy, revered by his congregation, and trusted by those who sought solace in his sermons. However, ambition and the lure of earthly rewards had seduced him and many of his colleagues. They began to indulge in forbidden practices, forgetting that their duty was to lead souls to salvation, not to damn them. The fall from grace was swift and merciless. One day, the divine light that had once shone so brightly within them was extinguished by their own hubris. Now they were forced to bear the weight of their misdeeds in a place where every moment was a reminder of their failings. As I continued my journey through this nightmarish landscape, I could see the priests scattered in groups, some writhing in agony while others sat silently, their faces devoid of the compassion they once possessed. The atmosphere was heavy with despair, and every step I took felt as though I were walking deeper into a labyrinth of eternal punishment. The very air seemed to vibrate with the cries of the lost, echoing the unending remorse of souls who had fallen from grace. I felt as if I were caught in a never-ending cycle of regret and sorrow, a prisoner of my own guilt for even having glimpsed this hidden realm. One particularly striking encounter was with an elderly priest who sat alone on a cold stone bench. His frail body was draped in tattered robes that no longer seemed capable of offering any semblance of dignity. With trembling hands, he clutched an old, worn-out Bible, its pages barely clinging together. I could see that every line on his face told a story of a life once filled with hope, now marred by an irreversible descent into despair. He looked up at me with eyes that held centuries of sorrow and whispered, "We lost our way when we forgot that our strength should come from faith, not from power. The moment we abandoned humility, we condemned ourselves." His words resonated deeply within me, and I could not help but wonder if there was any hope left for redemption in a place where the echoes of sin reverberated endlessly. The more I observed, the more I realized that the presence of these priests was not merely a punishment for their own failings. It was a stark reminder of how the institutions meant to guide and nurture faith could fall prey to corruption and greed. They had become a symbol of the ultimate irony, a group of men who were supposed to embody the divine light, now shrouded in darkness and despair. Their fall was not just a personal failure, but a collective tragedy that sent shockwaves through the very fabric of the spiritual world. I soon discovered that this hell was a complex tapestry of suffering, where every soul, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, played a part in a grand narrative of loss and regret. The priests in their eternal penance were not alone in their suffering. Every corner of this infernal place was filled with souls tormented by the consequences of their earthly choices. Yet, the sight of those once revered clerics was particularly jarring. as it forced me to confront the uncomfortable truth that even those who wielded the power to save could become lost. In the midst of this chaos, I found myself grappling with questions that challenged my deepest beliefs. How could a divine being allow such suffering, especially among those who were meant to be the vessels of mercy? Was there a purpose to this eternal torment, or was it simply a reflection of the inherent imperfections of humanity? The answers eluded me, leaving me with more questions than I had at the beginning of my journey. It was in these moments of reflection that I began to understand that hell was not merely a place of punishment, but a mirror reflecting the consequences of choices made without true introspection or remorse. As I prepared to leave that place of despair, I took one final look at the tortured figures of the priests. Their expressions, filled with an unending cycle of sorrow and regret, left an indelible mark on my soul. I realized that their fate was a warning, a call to those still living in the world above. The message was clear. True salvation could only be found by walking a path of humility, compassion, and self-reflection. It was not enough to simply claim righteousness. One had to live it every day in every choice and every action. In the aftermath of my experience, I found myself forever changed. I returned to the world of the living with a newfound appreciation for the fragile beauty of life and a deep understanding of the perils of unchecked ambition and pride. The memory of those priests, trapped in their eternal torment, served as a constant reminder of the importance of staying true to one's faith and values. I knew that I could never forget the lessons learned in that dark and forsaken place. The experience has haunted me ever since, not as a specter of fear, but as a guide urging me to seek a more meaningful existence. I have come to realize that hell, in its many forms, is not confined to the fiery depths of a mythical underworld. It is present in our everyday lives, the silent despair of those who have lost their way, the quiet sorrow of dreams abandoned, and the pervasive darkness that can settle over a soul devoid of hope and compassion. My journey into that realm was not just a glimpse into a terrifying alternate reality. It was a profound lesson on the importance of living a life filled with genuine care and humility. I continue to share my story not to frighten others, but to illuminate the path that leads away from the abyss. I hope that by recounting my experiences, I can help those who are lost in the chaos of modern life to find a glimmer of light in the darkness. It is my sincere wish that my tale serves as a catalyst for change, a reminder that no matter how far we may stray, there is always a chance to find redemption if we are willing to confront the mistakes of the past and learn from them. Even now, as I sit in the quiet solitude of my room, the echoes of that night still resonate within me. I am reminded of the countless souls trapped in a cycle of despair, and I carry with me the responsibility to honor their suffering by living a life of purpose and integrity. My journey through hell was a harrowing descent into a world where hope was but a distant memory, but it also ignited in me a burning desire to reclaim the light that had been so brutally snuffed out. I have learned that the greatest danger lies not in the fiery pits of hell, but in the complacency that allows us to ignore the quiet cries of our conscience. The haunting images of those lost priests will forever serve as a stark warning, a reminder that every decision, every act of pride or neglect, can push us further away from the salvation we seek. In sharing my story, I hope to inspire others to look within themselves, to confront their own inner demons, and to choose a path of redemption before it is too late.